Here we have Matot, Masai, Dvar, Malchut, a speech that the Lubavitcher Rebbe gave in 1991, Tafshin Nun Aleph. Matot Masai, as could be understood, this is talking about the beginning of the month of Av. The beginning of the month of Av, worst month in the year, the month with the temple was destroyed. First temple was destroyed. Second temple was destroyed. This is when the Jewish people came back from Israel and said, we're not going in, right in the time of Moses. But as usual, the Rebbe is trying to find something good in everything because we are approaching the future redemption, and the future redemption, everything is going to be totally good. And what it means, everything will be good, that the world will be good. So we have to see how this is approaching, whether there's some sort of a hint over here of the future redemption. Let's see. First of all, the Inyanim Yuchadim, from the special, yes, from the special occurrences on this Shabbos, this coming Shabbos. First of all, we're going to be finishing the book of Bamidbar, the book of Numbers, which is the fourth book of the Torah. Shesiyumo mahave gam siyum kol Torah. That essentially this finishes the whole Torah. Why? Because the fifth book of the Torah is called Mishnah Torah. The Mishnah Torah is really just a repetition of the first four books. Which, of course, there's a lot of laws in Mishnah Torah, a lot of laws that are not mentioned previously. But nevertheless, it's called Mishnah Torah. It's called Mishnah Torah. I think even in English, when they translated it, the Deuteronomy, and the do is for two, right? Two, they repeating it over. I don't know. But in any case, the main body of the Torah is supposed to be the four books. And then the fifth book of the Torah is basically a repetition of the first four books. Moses repeats the whole Torah to the Jews just before they're going into the land of Israel. After that, Machrizim, after we finish this fourth book of the Torah, we announce in a loud book and with great happiness, Chazak, Chazak, v'nitchazek, be strong, and we will strengthen ourselves. Shemor ala chozik, which this shows on being strong, tokef, power of the Jewish people in everything that's dealing with the Torah. Until she'achozik gufa ugimel pamim, until we say three times, chazak, chazak, v'nitchazek, three times. Sheyesh bo ha'iloi b'shlemos of three times a chazaka. Chazaka means if you do something three times, then it's considered as like a vow, sort of like a vow, and that you're intending to do it from now on. It's like a thing that's been set in your personality. You have to understand, the Siyam Sefer Revi, the connection between this finishing the fourth book of the Bible, the book of Numbers, and the Torah to the time right now. What's the time right now? We're going into the month of Shalom Masai Sefer Revi, but we always finish the book of Numbers on one of those Shabbatot, which are in the 3 weeks, which are called Bein HaMetzorim, which are between the tragedies. The tragedy of Yud Zayin Tammuz, when the enemy began to break into the city, and Tet Tisha B'Av, when they actually destroyed Jerusalem and took the temple and etc. Wakama Shanim, in many years, Kashana Zu B'Shabbos, it's the first Shabbos of the 9 days. Right? That's this coming Shabbat is going to be Rosh Chodesh. It's going to be the first day of there's 9 days. That's the most severe days of mourning for the temple. The last 9 days, the first day of until the 9th day of Av. So if so, as Zaman the Gimel Shavuos, that this time of these 3 weeks of mourning, and especially the last 9 days, which is the time of the destruction and the exile, this is weak, chalash, kedusha. This is the weakest time of the year. Most, how do you say, most discouraging time of the year is now. Exactly the opposite of chazak, chazak, and nitchazek. Here we can say, like nowadays, right? There's all these people that say, the Holocaust, the Jews, the Holocaust, God did the Holocaust, the Holocaust. It can't be religious. How can you believe in God? If there was a Holocaust, where was God? How could God? Holocaust. Good. It's a good question. The Holocaust, there's no explanation. You can't, fathom the horror and the pain. What happened in the Holocaust? Can't. Okay. But the fact of the matter is that the destruction of the first temple and the second temple were much worse. First of all, it could be that a bigger portion of the Jewish people were killed. For sure, a bigger portion of the Jewish people suffered. For sure. And the first temple, even more. All the Jews were all together. Everybody felt the destruction of the first temple. Everybody. They took them all out. They were all in exile. And those few people that were left behind, they were in a destroyed Israel. They were in a destroyed country. After the Holocaust, what was theirs? Who knows? 2/3 of the Jewish people weren't even in Germany. They weren't even in Europe. I'm not trying to, God forbid, don't think I'm trying to belittle or excuse in any way the Holocaust. No way. But I'm just trying to say that, if we're talking about hard times, the Jewish people, good reasons to leave Judaism, right? The discouraging things that happened is the destruction of the temple. The second one's already 2,000 years. Here, the Holocaust was when? It was 75 years ago. How long was it ago? 80 years ago? There's Jews back living in Germany now. They're back living in Germany. They're successful. They're building themselves up, right? Everything is just built right back up. Here, the temple was destroyed 2,000 years. We haven't recovered from it yet. So these times are very weak times, terrible times, right? Very discouraging times. If so, how can we be saying, chazak, chazak, be strong, strong, and we will be strong? L'chora, maybe we can say, no, that's the reason why you have to be strong. Since that nowadays it's attached, it's connected to the worst time in the history of Judaism, right? The most discouraging times. So therefore, now we know that it's necessary to be strong. But even seem more that it is connected to time. And not chizuk atzmo is connected to time. Not just that you have to be strong, chazak, chazak, v'nit chazek, is the opposite of what happens now. Now is really terrible, but we have to strengthen ourselves. No, it must be that if we say we have to be strengthened, it must be that the time itself is stressing that we have to be strong. Right? It's not that we have to be strong despite the time, the terrible time. Because of this time, we have to be strong. Let's see. Like the name of this Shabbat, the name of the Shabbat is called Shabbat Chazak. Anytime we finish a book of the Torah, so that Shabbat is called Shabbat Chazak. It's the Shabbat when we say Chazak, Chazak. The whole content of this Shabbat in the 3 weeks and in the 9 days is that the whole purpose of this Shabbat is to be strong. Not to be strong despite the fact that we are in terrible times or because we are in terrible times. No, because the times itself make us strong. This is the time that gives us strength for all of our deeds in doing Torah and commandments. Okay, now it goes without saying that Judaism is an attacked religion. Right through the history of Judaism, we have been the enemy of all the other religions, right? All the other religions from the very beginning, right? And for some crazy reason, people don't hate Buddhists, they don't hate They don't hate even the Christians and the Muslims. People don't hate them. The Jews, they hate. Jews is okay. There's a special thing, anti-Semitism. Why they call it Semitism, I don't know. There's Semites, but nevertheless, it has a special name. Call it hate Jew hatred. Nice name they made for it. But why? What's the big thing about hating the Jews? Who knows who a Jew is? That was one of the reasons why he became religious. I heard a big professor make an anti-Semitic statement. I couldn't figure out how in the world does he know who the Jews are? What has he got against? What did the Jews do to him? I couldn't figure it out. Little did I know that this has been a thing which is since Abraham, people have been hating Jews. So Jews have to be strong. It's a necessity. You want to be a Jew, you have to be strong. You're not strong in your faith, in godliness, you're not strong, then it doesn't last long. It doesn't last long. The world will sweep you away, but not totally, because every Jew in his essence is strong. That's what makes a Jew. He is strong. He, she. Whether you know it or not, whether you want it or not, that's the fact. Yuvan behektim, we can understand, first of all, the attachment between what it says, chazak, chazak, v'nit chazek, be strong, and we will be strengthened. Tochan a parsha, what is it? What is this Torah portion? The portion that we're learning is Matot Masai. That's the last Torah reading in the book of Numbers. Matot Masai. Now, the word Matot means the tribes, but the word Matot also means a staff, like a big walking stick is a mateh. And Masai means journeys. Shebezeh nichlal, this is the chazak, the powerful power of the mateh and the chazak of Masai. Two types of strength of the staff and the strength of the journey. Well, the Rebbe will explain. And also a third level of being strong, because it says three times, chazak, chazak, v'nit chazek. One is strong, that's represented by the first Torah reading, which is matot. The second is the strength, which is represented by the second Torah reading, masay, the journeys. And the third is both of them together, that nitzchazek. The whole idea of chozek being strong and chazak, and three times, especially when we say three times being strong, this is more appropriate to the first Torah portion, matot. Matot means a staff. Mateh is something that's very powerful. Bal Yeshana, like the staff of life. Right? The dugma mateh kapeshuta, like a staff. A staff is a thing that's supposed to be very hard and durable. Like it says, matot oz el shifte. A mateh means like the headquarters, the leadership, a mateh. That's also a mateh, means the strong leadership, matet. That's the words for strength. Okay, now maybe you can say, listen, come on, isn't the Rebbe sort of making a big deal about nothing? We have to realize that the Torah is the source of the world. The world is being created from the Torah. If there's anything strong in the world, right? They say that there's stars in outer space which are like 1,000,000 times more powerful and bright than our sun. And that's power, right? It says, but that's being created by God. And it's being created by God through the Torah. So the words of the Torah are really more powerful than the biggest star, whatever it is, the atom bombs, of helium explosions, what's going on over there. The most powerful thing you could possibly dream, the whole universe itself, is just created by one letter of the Torah. It says, Beyud Ke Tzur Hashem Tzur Olamim. Just the letter Hey created the heavens and the earth, and the letter Yud created all these angels and all these things. So when the Rebbe is taking the Torah seriously, the Rebbe is, and the whole power of the Jews is the Torah. That's what we just finished saying, that God blessed his people with peace. Remember, that's what we just learned in the Mimer in the morning. So the Rebbe really takes the Torah seriously, and the Rebbe wants us to take the Torah seriously. That's the idea of Moshiach. Moshiach will be people that take the Torah seriously. really, truly, seriously. And you see the amazing power that there is in the Torah. Here you have, there's this one religion that there's 2.5 billion people, that the whole thing is just based on misinterpretations of the words of the Torah. But the Torah, the Torah says the Torah is a tremendous power, right? The Torah is a tremendous power, even if it's taken improperly. Nevertheless, here's the Rebbe is taking it properly. So it says, therefore, we should learn from these words of the Torah what life really is about. What is real power? And just take a simple example here. All the big nations in the world, the Romans, the Roman Empire, how powerful they were. And the Jews are still here. The Babylonian Empire and the Persian Empire and this empire and that empire, with tremendous power and energy, and they're against, and the Jewish people are all broken up and all this. And nevertheless, whatever people are left in the Jewish people, they overpower the world. Here, the Jews are still here. Right? And the anti-Semites, the United Nations and the Zionists and this, they can't figure out how to get rid of the Jew, how to get rid of the Jew, to melt into everybody, to destroy them, to this, right? They can't figure out how can they get rid of this thing, the Torah, the mitzvah. They can't, and it won't work because the Torah is just too strong. Torah is too strong. That's the idea of memshel of a surah. Like it says, matot oz. Okay, but mashen, which is that. So if so, the idea of power is the word matot, which is not the case. Masai, she'inyan halicha v'nasiya. The whole idea of Masai is going and traveling. Vayisa halach v'nasoa. Mimakom l'makom, to go from one place to another. She'eno omer ha'makomo, it doesn't stand on its place. Ela holech v'nosea l'makom acher. He's not stable. Masai means traveling. Traveling means that you totally move yourself from where you are. It's a place which is incomparably not like the first place. This is the opposite of a chozek v'tokev. So matot means that you're stable and you're strong where you are. And masay means that you're always moving. And so true strength, you think, would be matot, like we say, right? The Jewish people are eternal. That's matot. And masay means that they travel around. They haven't got a set place. They haven't got a set identity. So this, we say chazak, chazak, nitchazek. This is, for both of these, also matot, masay is always, even when matot and masay are joined, B'siyum shel Parshat Matot say, and it's always at the end of Parshat Masai, the journeys. So this implies that the real power of the Jewish people, when do we say chazak, chazak? Mainly in Parshat Masai. But there's some years when it's joined with Matot also. So if so, the real strength of the Jewish people is in somehow or other their mobility, they're moving around. At first glance, that's the opposite of being strong. We can explain like this. Chazaka, which means 3 times. But talat zimne, and 3 times is a chazaka. Chazaka means like this is like a certainty. 3 times. Ubafrad chazaka meshuleshet, and especially if it's a chazaka that's 3 times. Chazak, chazak, v'nit chazek. This stresses being strong and being powerful, even in a place where there is an opposition. A lot of people, they can be very, very strong, but as soon as there's opposition, as soon as somebody, right, makes fun of them or flatters them or bribes them, then they're not so strong anymore. You do it like it's known as a mispar echad. The number 1, that shows on a person being very good and powerful and holy. That's number 1. God is 1. That's what we said, like we said, Yachid. Mispar Shtayim, the number 2, this indicates on division. That's like the second day of creation. God made a division. Because there's something opposite. The number 3, that really shows on power, tokif. Like a table that has 3 legs. 2 legs, no way. 1 leg, even worse. Not very stable. The kedusha gaba mamun u'matzav shel nigud. The power which is in the number 3, and that's why we say a chazaka is number 3. When you do something 3 times, that's like you made a vow. That becomes like your way of life 3 times. So if 3 means that there's one thing, something opposes it, and then there's a resolution in the end that 3 things work together. There's 2 ways of doing this number 3. From above, Hainu chozek v'tokav hamshachas ora kedusha, that God can draw a holiness everywhere from above to below, like it was on Mount Sinai. Gam b'makom she'ed nigud, even in a place where there is opposition. But it's such a tremendous light, like God took the Jews out of Egypt and he gave them the Torah. This is all from above, right? This destroys the opposition. Then there's another way of doing it from below. That the Jews from below, they raise up, that we're the powerful ones. We're the ones that overcome the opposite. And even more, we can transform it into holiness, right? Like when the Jews went into the land of Israel, they fought the battles, they transformed it. These 2 are the chazak and Parshas Matos Masai. Chazak, 2 times of strength. One type of strength is what God does everything. The chazak of Parshas Matos, this is a chazak v'tokav that comes from God. Vayedaber Moshe al Roshei Matot, vayedaber tziva Hashem. When God commands you, God speaks to you, God takes you out of Egypt, God gives you the Torah. This is power. This is just one type of power. This is the chozek of the commandment of God, even in a place where there's an opposition. Then there's a second type of power. That's the chozek of Parshas Masai, the journeys. This is a power which comes from us. Elu Masai b'nei Israel. These are the journeys of the Jews. We traveled through the desert. HaChozek v'tokav she'abodet b'nei Israel. This is the power of the Jews journeying through the desert and raising up the desert. Even though there's all these differences in the chiluki dargos and they're traveling all the time and there's different challenges constantly. Shebaprati Masos, which are in these different journeys in the desert, the world, right? The world was opposing the 42 general journeys that they took. Each one was different. Each one had its own challenges and difficulties. But nevertheless, the Jewish people always were moving, going, traveling from Egypt to the land of Israel. Each one was a little bit level of elevation in holiness. Al Pizeh, according to this, now we can explain what is chozek of Masai davka. What do we say? There's 2 types of strength. One of matot that comes from above, godly power. Oh, that's really powerful. And then there's power that comes from us from below. That's Masai. That's another type of chazak. Because when God does it, there's no opposition, right? God just knocked out all the Egyptians, and that's it. There was no opposition. It's true, it's a big miracle, right? But you don't feel the power of the Jewish people. You don't feel power in this world. You just feel that there was no opposition. God just knocked everybody out. But when the Jewish people were traveling in the desert and then they were strong, then you could feel the power because there was opposition. Not only that, Shechozek Vatokev Beligavul of light of Kedusha is drawn into a place in the desert without considering the opposition, but even more, that it actually deals with the opposition to negate it. The Jewish people traveled through the desert and transformed the desert into godliness. That's what the journeys in the desert were for. So that's a whole different type of being strong. So if so, there's strength that comes from God. When God gives you power, then you can overcome anything automatically, no problem. That's strength. That's the first chazak. The second chazak is when you yourself do it. From below to above, you're working in the world and transforming the opposition. You realize that there's things that are standing against you, warring against you, but you can overcome them every time. Right? It's like you're partners with God now. You're doing the job. This is really strong. The true idea of strength, though, is not when it comes from above alone or when it comes from below, but when it comes from both. Matot Masai together. Achozek the Matot, this power which is represented by Parshat Matot. This has it's a good thing. It's unique because it has light that comes from above. Because this it comes from above as enu shaykh lemetzius shel tachton. It's not relevant to us. Hamanagid. We don't even consider it. Some people told me there were people that told me that they were, who knows, in some bar, in some terrible places in the world, And suddenly, all of a sudden, they thought, wow, I'm a Jew. Or somebody said to him, hey, you dirty Jew. He said, wow, I'm a Jew. I got to get out of here. He had the power just to forget everything, overcome all obstacles, just to leave. That's it. Just to be a different person. A lot of people like that, they come to the yeshiva and they're very, but then now he has to start working on his own. That he has to go from below to above. Well, that really demands power. Has to do it on his own. The true idea of strength is when you have both of them together. You have both of them together. How is that going to be? We'll see. That's something like the idea of partnership that I talked about before. But let's talk. Yeshbo Mala, the bittul, that has this thing of a bittul, surrender of the opposition. But liyoto mitzad tachton, because it comes from you, so therefore, she'ein bo tokif, it's not as powerful as if the blessing comes from God. How are you medira v'agmala? So it's limited. If the blessing comes from God, then it's unlimited. If all the work comes from you, so that it's limited, but you can notice more the power. If it comes from you, then there could be differences, and it could be that you'll give up. Hashlemus amitis, the true idea of a Jew being strong, is when it's joined together, matot and masai together. And sheishnam beisamalas, it has both. Chozik v'tokav amshachas or shalomayla miyagbala. First of all, a big blessing from God, which is above any limitations. And simultaneously, a chozik v'tokav shebebitul hafichas an menaged al yadei Allah tachton. At the same time, it has the elevation of the physical from below to above, meeting the opposition war. Together, when you have both of them together, this negates the opposition, but it's in a way that's not just temporary. It doesn't depend on God. It depends on you. So you have also the power, the miraculous power of Hashem to change the world, but also it comes from you. So it's in a way that's permanent. And that's when Matas Masai comes together. That's number 3. That's a harmony between a blessing from above and your work from below 3. And that's going to come to the number 4, which we're going to talk about tomorrow. Okay, so in the Mimer in the morning, we learned that we have to make a war against Midian. We have to be strong. And now in this, we're learning that the power to do that is given to us by Hashem, but we have to be partners with Hashem all the time. And that's true strength. That's true essence of Judaism. As we'll talk about more. One second, stop this here over here. Right, okay, here we go. Ready? 1 minute. I should not have stopped the share. Here we go. Okay. Hayom Yom. Why isn't it working? Why? There we go. From the Tzemach, one of the sayings from the Tzemach Tzedek, the 3rd Rebbe of Chabad. A panimi, a genuine chassid, is a person as beten a bracha oif avoda is thus al yishu b'divrei hevel. To request a blessing from the Rebbe, I want a blessing that I should be able to serve God better. This is vanity. In other words, what do you want to call it? Not seeking an easy way out. Und es darf sein, hachbed avoda al anashim. It has to be that work is hard, difficult. Even though that sometimes there's a lot of people that did request blessings from the Rebbe, but nevertheless, the Rebbe wants to point out here the benefit that there is in serving God through difficulties, working through problems on your own, repeating what you learn several times until you get it. In some ways, is better than getting it at the first time. In some ways, as we'll talk about more, God willing. 3:00 today, there'll be a class in Chumash. Thank you very much. God bless you, and have a good day with Moshiach now.